They say numbers don't lie, and if you look at the charts right now, they're screaming one thing: trouble ahead. From shipping to consumer confidence to spending habits, every major indicator is flashing red. And yes, the US and China have agreed to a 90-day pause on tariffs after recent talks in Switzerland. However, this doesn't mark the end of the trade tensions. President Trump has a long-standing history of advocating for tariffs on various countries.
Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. I want free trade, but I want it to be like, at least we break even, right? We do something. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Albert. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. Japan, they send cars by the millions. They come off those...
This ongoing uncertainty underscores the importance of understanding what tariffs are, who ultimately bears their cost, and the broader economic implications they carry. So let's start with the obvious one: trade. The number of container ships leaving China for the US dropped off a cliff, down over 40% in just the last month. That's a sudden stop. And of course, the tonnage, or total weight of products being moved, has also plummeted. That means even more disruption to supply and fewer goods reaching American shores. Fewer shipments now means fewer products on shelves later. Simple as that. If trade stays frozen and tariffs stick around, prices will rise. Sellers aren't stupid. They're not going to pay 145% more to import a product unless they absolutely have to. And here's a common misconception. It's not the Chinese exporter who pays the tariff, it's the US importer. When a tariff is imposed, the American business bringing the product into the country is the one stuck with the added cost. That cost either gets absorbed by the seller, cutting into their profit, or passed on to the buyer. That means you. Imagine you're a store owner and overnight your supplier tells you your next shipment will cost 40% more because of a new tariff. Do you pay more and raise prices? Do you eat the cost and lose margin? Or do you hold off and stop ordering altogether? With high tariffs, businesses are incentivized to pause because higher prices mean lower demand. No one wants to get stuck holding overpriced inventory that consumers won't touch. So because of that, businesses are rerouting. Freight costs from Vietnam to the US are surging, while costs from China are falling. That's the global supply chain trying to dodge US tariffs in real time. Either way, the final cost of goods keeps rising. Now let's talk GDP. The first quarter of 2025 came in negative. That hadn't happened in 3 years. But what might seem confusing is consumer spending and imports actually surged. On the surface, that sounds like a good sign. More buying, more movement, what looks like economic growth at first glance. But economists were quick to point out the context. This spike came before the tariffs were officially announced. It was front-loading. People and businesses were rushing to buy while they still could, bracing for higher prices and more restrictions. It wasn't growth, it was a survival move. Think of it like this. When a hurricane is coming, people rush to the stores. Shelves empty out, not because demand is booming, but because everyone's preparing for the storm ahead. And now that the early buying spree is over, the hangover is setting in.
How quickly you saw demand drop starting in the middle of February. Have you ever seen something like this, aside from COVID?
To lose 3 points in the first quarter post-January and 6 points in the second quarter post-January, that is a very rapid fall off. You know, it's probably the most that I have seen absent COVID or ex-COVID. So the demand is way down.
Companies are scaling back. Southwest Airlines, one of the biggest U.S. carriers, just called their industry's situation a recession. Not a warning, not a forecast, a recession. And they're not alone. Retailers, manufacturers, and logistics firms are all reporting the same thing. Demand is evaporating. And that's just the beginning. Let's look at the hard data. The Texas Fed reported one of the sharpest drops in manufacturing activity since COVID. New orders collapsed 22%, unfilled orders down 13%. Delivery times fell, input prices surged by 48%, but companies could only raise finished product prices by 15%. Margins are getting crushed. Business confidence down 28%, overall activity down 36%. That's not a slowdown, that's a cliff. If all this sounds overwhelming, don't worry. Just make sure you're subscribed. We'll go over exactly what you can do to prepare. Your money, your mindset, and your strategy. No panic, just smart moves. Meanwhile, Scott Bessent, Trump's economic advisor and the architect behind this strategy, keeps saying China has more to lose. that the US can win this standoff. He's been on a media tour repeating the same talking points. China exports more to the US than the reverse, so they'll cave first. While the politics play out, the economy is still taking the hit. They just kicked the can down the road for 90 days. We still don't know what the final decision will be. The uncertainty hasn't gone anywhere. What does that mean for the average person? Consumer sentiment is collapsing across the board. Whether you earn more or less than $100,000 a year, confidence is at record lows. People are scared. Surveys show more Americans than ever think they'll lose their job in the next year. Expectations for business conditions have never been worse. Not even during COVID, over 60% of consumers believe things will get worse before they get better. That's the highest percentage in over 45 years of data. Tourism is drying up too. Fewer Europeans are coming to the US. Every major source, UK, Germany, Spain, Norway, you name it, saw sharp declines in March. Even credit card data shows more Americans are only making minimum payments. That's a big red flag for household financial stress. People are holding on to every dollar they can. Truck sales are another leading indicator, and they just fell hard. Companies don't invest in fleets when they expect demand to fall. That's how you know it's serious. If things stay on this path, we're heading toward what economists call stagflation. That's when inflation stays high, but growth stalls. Think rising prices, falling demand, and tightening margins. Companies raise prices because of tariffs and supply disruptions, but at the same time, people can't afford to buy. The result? Layoffs, store closures, and a situation that feels like a slow bleed instead of a sharp crash. And here's the most frustrating part. This is avoidable. The president has the power to pull back on tariffs. Economists across the board agree on one thing: tariffs are a terrible way to fix trade imbalances. They're a tax on American consumers, plain and simple. If nothing changes, we're on track for empty shelves, job losses, and a summer recession that's already baked in. Apollo Global Management laid it out clearly. If you look at the sequence of events and the data, it's hard to miss it. What should you do with this information? Recessions are inevitable. We just don't know when they'll hit. Will tariffs be the thing that triggers the next one? Maybe. But either way, your finances should always leave room for error. Not being prepared is like living in Florida and pretending hurricanes don't happen. What matters isn't whether we're officially in a recession, it's understanding that these cycles are part of the system. What really counts is being ready when it comes. On the other hand, if you're an investor, this matters for one simple reason. It helps you decide where to put your money. If you're already prepared for a recession, tight budget, savings, long-term mindset, then your next move might be to hold or even buy more when prices drop. Because markets tend to bounce back, just like they fall if you've made the right call. But that doesn't apply to everything. I wouldn't say the same about meme coins or even US Treasury bonds if global confidence starts to crack. Confidence is everything. Once it's gone, value disappears. So make sure you understand exactly what you're investing in. The bottom line is this: charts don't lie. Confidence is falling, shipping is collapsing, and leaders are playing chicken while the economy bleeds. Whether you agree with the tariffs or not, the damage is real and it's spreading. This might not be COVID, but it sure feels like another storm is building. Like the video if you care about being informed, and as always, stay curious and stay hodling.